This past weekend, I hosted a mystery box game jam where board game designers from all over the world had 24 hours to make a board game incorporating at least one of the 9 components I picked out for them from the Game Crafter. These components were 50 blank hex cards, 10 green crystals, 10 black cubes, 1d6 with different symbols on it, 10 red drops, 10 purple gems, 1 hinged stone door, 10 yellow octagonal cubes or oct boxes, and 5 keys. Designers had to use at least one of each of these items in their game. They were allowed to modify them and were also allowed to include other components. Each designer made a short 2-minute video showing the game they came up with, and I compiled all of them into this video. And now you can vote for your favorite to win the People's Choice Award. Please watch all of the submissions before voting. I'll include a link to the voting form below. Voting closes this Thursday, October 9th, 2025 at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. I will announce the People's Choice Award, so the game that gets the most votes from you, as well as the Designer's Choice, which gets the most votes from other designers, and my favorite pick in next week's video on Sunday, October 12th. Here is the judging criteria I will be using for my pick. How well does the game utilize, integrate, and highlight the mystery components? This could mean creatively using the components as is or creatively modifying the components. How innovative or intriguing is the game? And how enthusiastic do I think this game's target market would be to play it? Now, you don't need to score on these specific aspects for your pick, you just need to pick your favorite, but keep these questions in mind as you watch these videos. Now, without further ado, here are the videos from the Game Jammers showing their creations.
Welcome to the Bazaar, an illicit underground teeming with magical opportunists trying to make their money and run before the long arm of the law catches up to you and shuts it down. It's a trick-taking game for 2 to 4 players. You start with one central little stall and one other random location. What will you find at these locations? Well, first of all, gold greases all the palms, illicitly captured dragon's blood. You might also get mana for special one-time abilities, or magical crystals that the alchemists have harvested. Contraband. It might be illegally harvested unicorn horns, it might be gnome toes, no one knows, just don't look in the box. You'll play a series of hands that are 6 cards each. At the start, you just earn 2 victory points for winning the last trick of the hand. But as your empire expands and you add more locations and more influence, what and how you score points for changes. To expand and add these new locations, you must at the appropriate time either lose a trick of the appropriate color, or on the victory point track, you must be the first person to cross these point thresholds to earn one of these keys. So over the course of the game, what you're evaluating changes drastically and leads to things like, do I pay off that policeman so I can win the trick? Or do I bribe my own policeman so that I can intentionally lose the trick and get this shiny new building? Top of this accelerating engine, there's the fact that the law is constantly getting closer. At the start of every night, you roll this order die, and you advance up the track equal to the number of swords that you get. If you see this symbol, this means things got rowdy. This drunken halfling is suddenly fearless and feisty, or that this library doesn't score points this turn. Once this track reaches all the way to 9, the game ends, the law has come in and shut down the bazaar, you cash out your earnings, and cash is converted to victory points, the most points wins.
In Castle of Crystal Tears, you are an aspirant, searching the land of Prisma for a castle created long ago from the magic of crystalline tears. These tears are known only to be shed by messengers, entities entrusted with a nightshard key. While the knowledge of these keys has been forgotten to most, you know that they are the only way to access these crystal castles. That being said, the remnants of this particular castle have remained unseen for a millennium. So long so that many are unsure if the effort to gather nightshard keys from the aforementioned messengers would be easier than searching for the secrets to create a castle anew. But that is something you will have to decide for yourself. Do you dream of discovering the lost secrets of the castle, gathering the knowledge to create a new castle in its stead? Or do you desire to unearth the original castle, claiming the nightshard keys, and ascending to a messenger yourself? Castle of Crystal Tears is a 3-act campaign. Throughout this campaign, you will decide which path to take, uncover secrets, gain experience, meet bears, and reap the culmination of your efforts. To quickly go through what you are seeing on screen, this is a map after it has been fully explored by an aspirant. To the north, you'll see a 1 in a box. This represents a choice the aspirant must make before moving on to an adjacent tile. Additionally, you'll see a purple gemstone, which represents mirages. Mirages are encounters that aspirants must go through before moving on to adjacent tiles as well. The green gemstone represents tears left behind by previous bearers that can be found. The red teardrop represents effort. Effort can be used to alter the odds in your favor when in encounters and using the magic, attack, or secret dice. The black key represents bears that are currently protecting the land of Prisma. The black boxes represent secrets that can be found. The yellow octo boxes represent the castle, and the door represents the entrance to that castle that must be opened by a nightshard key.
This is CoriDOOR. You begin the game by placing the door on the center tile. Shuffle and randomly place the remaining 6 artifact tiles, 3 to each side of the door. Each player gets a 6 artifact card, and the object of the game is to collect 1 of each artifact. The starting player gets to move the door 1 space in either direction and enters both players into combat. In combat, each player rolls the battle die, calculates their score based on the die value plus any bonuses or penalties for each artifact you possess. There are no ties, both players re-roll until there is a winner. If the player who's moved into the space wins, they may acquire 1 of the artifacts and place it on their card. For the remainder of the game, they get the bonus or penalty of that artifact, and they also get to move the door again. If they already own that artifact, they simply move the door. If your opponent wins the combat, then they get to control the door and get to move it in whichever direction they choose. First person to win all 6 artifacts wins the game.
You are a resident at the Doily Manor nursing home, and you like to play Dungeons & Dragons. But you and your compatriots need to find a secret place to play, which just happens to be 5 basements down in the wine cellar. Each layer has a number of spiders you must defeat along the way. If you're successful, you'll unlock an additional card in your hand. Otherwise, you'll lose a card in your hand. That's one of the losing conditions. Each player has a player board that tracks their courage, their number of injuries, and the songs in their heart. If a player is lacking in courage, you can sing to them to boost their courage. Courage determines how much injury you gain when smushing spiders. Whenever this symbol is rolled, you gain that number of injuries. When you play a card with a spider on it, place a cube on that spider. When you attack that spider, you must keep rolling the die until you have rolled 3 swords. When you defeat the spider, place it over here to indicate that that spider has been smushed. When you play a card that completes a matching circle, all players gain that benefit. On your turn, you can take any one of these actions, place a map, move to a map, attack a bug, rest to heal 1 injury. This bonus action can be taken at any time, even when it's not your turn. Every time your injuries go all the way to the end, you gain 1 of Nurse Prickle's Gloom Stones. She told you so. Once all these Gloom Stones have been collected, the game's over and you lose. If you have 0 cards in your hand, you lose. If all players have maxed out their injuries, the game's over. But if you're able to get all the way into the wine cellar, you can play Dungeons & Dragons and you win. When I first looked at these components, I thought that this was an adventure game and I wanted to do a twist on that. And seeing as Dungeons & Dragons is now over 50 years old, the original fans of this game are now in their 60s. So they are my target audience, and I suppose this is a filler game that they could use to start the evening. Thanks.
Flip Flop is a 2 to 3 player competitive game. The goal is to shoot all of your tokens through the door by flicking them in turns. These are the different players, and this is the door that needs to be opened. When you flick your piece, it should pass through 2 other pieces. Otherwise, it goes back to its last space. Nice. Otherwise, it would go back here. And these are some obstacles that give you more option to go through. After flicking, you should roll the dice for any pair of pieces that you pass through. For example, if this thing goes through here, it already passed 1, 2, 3, 4, so they will roll this die 4 times. And if they manage to get the same symbol 3 times, it gets triggered. The sword sign, let's call it the key sign, gives you keys, and the splash sign is going to damage any pieces from the opponent that you pass through. So if black managed to pass through these 2 pieces, it can damage the green one if they roll the sign 3 times. When a player gets damaged, they get these wound tokens. If they have 3 wound tokens, they have to go back to their spawning position, which is here, or if they have more than 1 pieces on the board, they have to lose 1. They would also get wounded if they leave the board. If ever you don't have any pieces on the board, you can either spend the key if you have one, or wait for 1 round and then spawn a new token here. The key tokens that you can get by rolling the dice or by hitting these key tokens here is going to open the door, and it can also be used to spawn new pieces. So you can spend 1 key to spawn a new piece here, or to open the door with the key until someone passed through the door. It could be the other players. After a piece flicked through the door will be closed again. After the player managed to flick all of their pieces through the door, the game is over and they win the game.
The Leviathan has burst from the ancient stone doorway to the sunken city of Atlantis. This would have been amazing, but it wrecked your science vessel in the process. Now, treasures, machinery, and fuel canisters litter the valley floor, and the Leviathan's wounded tendrils rage at everything they can. Recover your fuel canisters from the grip of the Leviathan's tendrils before it pulls them back beyond the doorway and poisons itself. Oh, and try and collect some treasures and patch up the beast's wounds while you're at it.
As a scientist, you want to recover all 10 fuel cells and collect as much treasure as you can and heal as many wounds as you can of the Kraken before it withdraws all its tendrils back behind the door. If it pulls a single one of the fuel cells behind the door, that's game over because the Kraken poisons itself. On your turn, you move to an adjacent tile, and then you can either collect the fuel cell if you are on the tile with it. If you collect a fuel canister, then that goes in your inventory, and every other item on the path back to the doorway gets pulled 1 space further. So all these go there, all those go there. Or you can gather treasures. You gather all of one type. So for example, all 4 of these, and then they would go back into your stash. Or you can, and then everything else on the tile spills out onto adjacent tiles. Once the tiles have been cleared of all the pieces, if you leave the tendril, then it retracts. To heal the wounds, you roll the die, and then the number of swords you get is how many wound tokens you take away. And if you roll 1 of the stars, then you drop 1 of each of the different kinds of items back onto the space.
Welcome to Hex, a board game adaptation of the classic sci-fi movie Cube from 1977. In this 2-player head-to-head game, you and your opponent wake up trapped in a futuristic maze, where the rooms rotate and the exit never stays put. Set up the board with 19 of 20 unique hexagonal tiles or rooms. Both players start in the center room with 2 resources or key cards of their choice, red, yellow, green, or black. Except for the first turn, players cannot be in the same room. On your turn, roll the die and move the exit the number of steps indicated by dagger symbols. Then you must take 2 actions in any order, either rotating, moving, or taking a keycard. You may rotate any hex by 60, 120, or 180 degrees, clockwise or anti-clockwise. If the adjacent color path matches, you may use a corresponding keycard to move to that room, returning the keycard to the stock. Or you can pick up any colored keycard from the stock. To exit the maze, you must first reach specific rooms to collect the keys into your hand. The game ends when a player holding 2 or more keys stands on the hex where the door is, or if any player holds 4 of the 5 keys.
To set up this game, you're going to arrange your path tiles so that the pathways connect. You're going to place 18 of them out, selected from all of them that I've painted, around the center where the castle door is. You're going to make sure that the path is aligned so that it winds around in any manner so that it is circling the castle. You are going to start down here at the end, and we have the glass pebbles as our player markers. Along the path, there are going to be obstacles. The obstacles are currently represented by the octagonal pillars that we have here in yellow. There are dots underneath where I have randomly placed them when I painted the landscape and path. We have 10 obstacles out, and you're going to place treasure chests on 5 of them. So half of them have treasure chests represented by the black cubes. You're going to roll a d6 for your movement. I have a 3, so there's 1, 2, 3, and everybody is going to do that in a clockwise turn order. Once we get to our obstacle, we will then roll our damage dice. So the damage die has a sword, a couple swords, and the blast, like kapow star. If you have swords, you are dealing damage to the obstacle. And if you get 3 swords, then you have defeated the obstacle. If you get 3 of stars, you've not defeated the obstacle, you are injured, and you will receive a blood pip. If you get 3 blood pips, you die and you're out of the game. So you want to try really hard not to die there. If you get a blood pip and you've not moved past it, you stay there for the next turn. You have up to 5 rolls of the damage dice per obstacle you're trying to defeat. When you go against an obstacle that has a treasure chest, you're going to get a gemstone for every time you defeat an obstacle. But if you go against the obstacle with the treasure chest, you're then going to roll your d6 to determine how many additional gemstones you're going to earn. So if you roll a 1 or a 2, you get 1 additional gemstone. If you roll a 3 or a 4, you're going to get 2 additional gemstones. If you roll a 5 or a 6, you're going to get 3 additional gemstones. The gemstones are handy because you're going to turn in 3 gemstones to earn a key. Once you have found a key along your journey, you're going to use that key to open up the door to the castle. The first player with a key to reach the castle door will win the kingdom.
Hey guys, welcome to my game. It's called Riddles of the Rockies. It's a 2-player competitive game where players solve riddles. They can pick from easy, medium, or hard. They figure out where on the board those riddles are taking them to. They traverse across the board movement-wise, and if they're correct, which they use location cards to match up against the riddles, then they will receive 1 or more treasures. So let's pretend we're on team 1 and we want to get off to an easy start. So we will draw an easy riddle. So here's the first easy riddle, and there it is on the screen. You can pause it if you want to try and solve it yourself. In this case, I believe that the solution to the riddle is gospel hump, so I want to move spaces over there. So I roll this dice for movement. Cross means a movement. That means a damage. That means 3 movements, so it just works out that way. So in this case, I would just move 1. When I finally get to gospel hump, I'll take that location card, I'll flip it over, and I can match. And if they match together, then I know I found the right location. Then I can roll a 1d6 to see what I get, but I can also add health. So if I'm not happy with my roll, say I've got 3 here, which would get me obsidian glass, but I actually want the gemstone, then I can sacrifice a health, and then that way I can go ahead and get a gemstone to add to my board. And that's how you pick up treasures along the way. When you have at least 2 of these categories, and of course you have to have a key, then you can go ahead and do the final riddle. You only get 1 chance to solve the final riddle, and then once you have a go at it, you need to make, if you didn't have a pink stone, for example, you would lose the game. But in this case, we know that it's somewhere between the most westerly green stone and the most easterly pink stone. And so we know that that's the location of the final treasure. Once the final treasure spot is known, a door is placed, because that's how every riddle ends, explaining that that is the door to the treasure. Whoever gets to the final treasure first wins. There is only 1 card for that as well. You don't each have your own final treasure. And that, my friends, is Riddles of the Rockies.
Hi, this is a submission for the Game Jam created by me and my wife. Our game is called RooD, where a magical door connects the normal world to a twisted mirror realm. RooD flips green landscapes into their dark purple mirror versions, and players must work together to forge 5 keys and seal the door before the deck runs out. At the start, each player gets 3 landscape cards, and RooD is placed in the center. On their turn, players can either play landscape cards to expand the path, or move RooD forward, gaining benefits if it lands on a colored section. RooD moves in the direction its arrows point. When crossing green tiles, it flips them to the mirror side. Players may perform both actions once, or 1 action twice. After each turn, RooD's die is rolled. Sword icon make RooD march forward, claiming tiles. Green tiles offer junctions to choose its path. but the mirror world offers no such luxury. Explosion icons flip its hinges, changing the direction. To create keys, players must complete tasks in the mirror world. First, guide RooD on the required benefit color. Second, place the benefit on the task. And third, move RooD through the task tile to complete it. Each completed task earns a black cube. 3 cubes on a single path form a key. To increase difficulty, RooD's slimy minions may appear and double the required benefits for certain tasks. So that's the premise. We used only the components from the challenge box and we made a fun but challenging cooperative game. It's family friendly from 10 years upwards and it supports 1 to 4 players. We had fun making it and hope you enjoy too. Bye.
Tabletop Demon Summoners is a cooperative game for 2 to 5 players. You and your friends will summon a demon by creating a magic circle and placing ritual components on it, but will your protections be strong enough to stop the demon from escaping? Tabletop Demon Summoners is played in 2 phases. In the first phase, you strategically create a magic circle and fill it with ritual components. In the second phase, the demon you summoned attempts to break free, rampaging against your circle and removing its components. If you ever have to remove one of the components from the central circle, the demon escapes and all is lost. If you survive its attacks, you win. Let's look at the 2 phases more closely. In the first phase, players take turns either playing a card of the circle or discarding a card to add ritual components. The first card added can be anything, but future cards must match the innermost circle's pattern and feature a unique ritual component. Ritual components include candles, which can help you hold the demon at bay, charcoal, which protects you from its attacks, purple and green gems, which can be placed interchangeably but must be present in equal amounts, and magic keys, which can be placed on any space. Finally, blood can be placed by sacrificing any card in your hand. Once the circle is complete and all ritual component spaces are filled, the door to another world opens and the demon emerges. Shuffle all discarded cards and turn them face down. Roll the demon die. On a sword, the demon attacks. Flip over a discard and remove 1 copy of the middle component from your circle. On a demonic explosion, remove any 2 components. Some faces have both, or even multiples. On a roll of a blank, you get to put back any ritual component. Keep rolling until either you have to remove one of the 6 central components, allowing the demon to escape and losing the game, or until there are no more cards to flip, which means you've contained the demon and won the game.
Presenting the game, prototype, Temujin's Tomb. Let's look at what's inside. In our game, 2 fledgling Mongol chieftains seek out Temujin's Tomb to inherit the legacy of the great Genghis Khan and become the next great Khan themselves. They use such things as the combat dice to seek emeralds and trade goods by pillaging towns, cities, and villages. They must maintain the health and well-being of their army while they seek for keys, the keys that will allow them to unlock the entrance to Temujin's tomb. Doing this, we use a variety of tiles where they start out and travel through surrounding villages and steppes, locate places of interest like the palace of the Sultan of Baybars. They travel to and attempt to conquer great cities at which loot and keys are at, Samarkand, Merv, and Bukhara, and eventually look for sacred mountain places where Temujin Tomb may reside. And they utilize event cards during the process. A game in progress. This player has just attacked the city of Bukhara, rolled the dice, done 2 damage to the city, took a wound, but failed to finish and conquer the city. This player over here is now going to elect to explore. He goes here, he discovers another mountain, sacred mountain. He has a key, he will attempt to search. He rolls his result and succeeds in determining that this is the result of Temujin's tomb, and he uses his key to get the first unlock in the door. 3 is needed to win the game. I hope you've enjoyed this lightning quick presentation of Temujin's Tomb by Meandering Mike.
Trick or Treasure is a competitive trick-taking worker placement game for 2 to 5 players. Players take the role of pirates, taking time off from the high seas for a friendly Halloween competition. The pirate with the most points after the 13th trick wins. There are 3 ways to score points: taking tricks, exchanging sweets for treats, and unearthing then unlocking treasure. Each round starts with each player drawing a card. The top of the card indicates the suit and value for trick-taking, the middle depicts which type of worker that player can place in the location, and the bottom contains instructions for scouts who are seeking treasure. The player who won the previous trick takes the captain's quarter token. They will lead this trick. First, the captain selects a trump die to roll. Each of the 4 dice features the 3 other suits. Next, they lead, and play continues clockwise, without needing to follow suit. The winner takes the trick card, which is worth 1 point, and additional rewards are distributed according to that card. Next, starting with the player who submitted the lowest ranking card of the trick, you may place the worker as indicated on the submitted card to the location matching both the suit and the worker type. If that spot is already occupied by another player's worker, there are 2 options. You may bump that worker to an open spot of their choosing, giving them the benefits, or you may play a different card from your hand, replacing either the suit or the worker type from the submitted card. After placing a worker, gain the benefit of the flag under the placed worker. The 12 basic flags are: gain a cake, gain a strawberry, gain a chocolate, gain a rock candy, gain a hard candy, gain a key, rotate your scout, dig, spy, discard a card then draw a card, or upgrade a flag. Then, you may exchange the appropriate amount of resources to purchase a treat, which are worth points. Finally, each scout moves simultaneously, equal to the number of rotation symbols their player has played this turn. If a player is alone on a hex and they play a shovel, they can claim that hex. If it has a chest, and they have a key, they can unlock it to earn treasure, worth points. Lastly, the captain's quarter token is moved to the trick's taker, and play continues until there are no more trick cards.
Hi, my name is Stacie Hampton. I'm presenting a game today as part of Pam Wall's 24-hour game design challenge. I also recently designed Ironworks Melt Mold Master. It's currently in development, so keep an eye out for that. And without further ado, here is Wild Encounters. Wild Encounters. You'll be playing cards, matching terrain types in the land, expanding places to discover, gaining resources along the way. Match 2 terrain types, and gain some gemstones. Matching at least 1 gains you this benefit. When you play a card, you also get the when played benefit, and it is out here as a worker placement spot for other players. What you're trying to do is find your way home. You have the key, but you do not know where the door is. You have to take actions to interact with sprigs, and they'll tell you where the door is, but you also risk either getting some gems or getting some bad luck. If you do get bad luck, it starts to impede your movement on the board. The key allows you to move throughout the board to take further actions, gain resources, ultimately turning gems into magic. When you do find the door and you have the right resources to get through the door, you trigger the end of the game. Everyone has 1 more turn. The player with the most magic, plus any victory points they might have gained from interacting with sprigs, is the winner.
Hello, I am Ping. This is Witch Whispers, a cooperative game where you're going to be playing as a witch with a partner in order to complete a blood ritual. Once 2 blood rituals are made and this door in the middle is opened, then you will win the game. You'll have 6 nights to do so. Each night you're going to take a few actions. At the end of each night you're going to discuss with your partner what bonus you want from what you can see from underneath these bonuses, and then move on to the next day. An action would be moving, and in order to move you need one of these candles. You can bring one with you or move something else while you move. Some tiles are going to have abilities, such as when a witch is there, the door is going to open. When it moves off of it, though, it's going to be closed. Witches can move into the other person's room. So, for example, this would be legal because this tile allows it to move in a special way. You can expand your area by exploring into a dark space. When you explore, you need your candle still, and you will roll this die to determine if this place gets abyssed, or if you have any candles that will join. Abyss is going to change how the ghosts are going to move and operate kind of in the game. You are able to remove ghosts using one of your abilities. Each witch has 2 of them. One of the abilities is going to be able to give you a candle, so you can try and roll it. and the candle is going to end up on the tile that it landed on. You can remove ghosts also from your tools. They will give you either a blood or a key. Keys are going to be able to use to open the door. Blood is going to be able to be placed for winning the game. Ghosts are going to have the ability to close your door and place ectoplasm. If you run out of ectoplasm on your side of the cauldron, then you will also lose the game. Door has to be open to complete your ritual. Break the door, win the game.
Hi, I'm Joel, and this is XenoArcheologists, my entry in the Mystery Box Game Jam. XenoArcheologists is a scenario-based co-op tactical deck builder, inspired by some of my favorites like Robot Quest Arena, Flame and Fang, and Astro-Knights. But instead of a boss battle or a combat, players are scientists on a hostile alien world trying to survive and unearth artifacts. You can play 1 to 4 players, but you always control 4 characters. To start, choose your scenario and characters. Here we have Teresa, the field scientist, Jasper, an exoplanet survival specialist who is raised off-world, Walter Bricks, a mercenary turned medic, and finally, Synthetic Carl, a sarcastic but perceptive humanoid robot. Each one starts with their own deck, identical except for 1 special card per character. They also have a special ability that can be used once per round. Instead of a turn order, you flip over cards from this event deck, which has 2 cards for each character and a bunch of event cards. These are mostly bad, like a radiation storm will damage anyone not protected by a closed airlock. Oh yeah, managing the airlock is important. It can open and close, and unfortunately it breaks down a lot. Anyway, when you turn over an event, it gets queued up until after the next turn, so you have some sense of what's coming and a chance to respond. You can spend your energy cards to move and do things such as heal, generate food, repair that pesky airlock, or use energy to buy better cards. Mini cards let you do a science. Roll the science die, and if you roll a breakthrough symbol and some research symbols, you can add research tokens to an artifact dig site. Lots of cards and abilities let you mitigate and control the science roll, but sometimes you just have to let it roll. 4 research tokens and you've uncovered the artifact. Recover all 3 artifacts, and in this scenario, you win. There's more to it than that, like equip cards that can help other characters and the mysterious creep that spreads relentlessly across the board. I'll post a longer video that goes over all the rules, but for now, that's XenoArcheologists. Thank you.
At the beginning of the round, any workers placed on a tile with an hourglass symbol get to use the ability that is on that tile. That ability in particular allows me to recycle 1 market card. So I will put it at the bottom of the deck, and I will draw a new tile. Now that that worker is done, and no other workers are on any tiles that I can use this turn, I shall go to the next stage, which is buying tiles to put into the settlement. I would like this guy. He costs 2, so I will spend 2 gold to place this tile on the board. Now that I've unlocked the next section by placing 7 tiles on the settlement, as denoted on the board, I will put my marker there to tell me that. I will gain 1 more survivor available, and I have another gold to spend. So I shall replenish the card that I just took off the board, and spend 1 more gold to buy one of these guys, and place him here. I will replenish the board, then we go to the next stage. I would like to go and move this guy back onto this tile for next round, so I will use 1 food to place that worker. I will place this guy over here to provide defense. And I will place this guy right here to hopefully gather food for this next turn. And then I take the die and I roll it. Now, you can't quite see it because it's a black marker on a black die, but it says in east, so north and east. So I will place a zombie on the northmost tile. In the eastmost tile, there are 2 tiles here that one blocks, so it will go here. And that's the end of this round. Beginning of the next round, we start again, hourglass symbols. Well, I can't use this one because there's a zombie on it, so I will not be able to use that function. I do gather 2 food back into my pool, and since this guy is on a marksman, he gets to take out 1 zombie.